legs right now. So, um,
Well, we are live. Hello, YouTube. And today we were going to be talking about the blood on the chair. As you know, that I think is Greg's, his crux of the case, which, I don't think it's gotten enough airtime, because when you look at the blood on the chair, you see a massive soaking in one of the corners, but then you also see blood. It's either tissue or something on top. So that tells you two events occurred in that living room. But today, Kristen has decided, she contacted us, and she's actually a relative of the Crowley family. And so we decided we're going to go a different route today. We're going to let her speak and tell us what has been happening on the family side of things. But before we start all that, everybody say hello. Sophia, why don't you tell everybody what you've been up to?
hi, I'm Sophia. God, what have we been up to? What haven't we? That's a better question. Catherine and I have been working on a book together. It's coming along really well. It's not about the case, so don't get your hopes up high on that one. But it is coming together really well, and we're super stoked about it. Other than that, I don't know, just normal stuff, daily stuff that we're doing. And Christian, how are you doing?
It's been quite an interesting year since I came on last. Mm-hmm. And so I wanted to kind of fill everybody in. And I've been in touch with Greg. We've been trying to touch base, but he is, like all of us, a very busy man. And so, again, I think just especially my husband and myself, we are starting to understand how much humility and honor to pay to you two.
Oh,
all that you guys have done to stay on the case, because it's easy to get distracted, and it's easy to get bullied, and it's easy to get off track. And so we just want to say thank you guys. I'm so emotional because it's really real. It's really true, you guys. You're staying with it, and there's a reason.
Well, and
I just really want to thank you.
And to pass that thanks along, which I know you've done a million times, but I know for me, I have to give all the credit to Greg, because so many times, due to my frustrations, I've okay, I got to step back and walk away. But Greg's always like, don't give up, come back. We need to do this. Let's do this. And so I come back in. But, it's interesting. I'm one of those who truly believes that things happen at a time and for a reason. Yeah. I woke up at 4:00, 4:00 this morning, and the case was on my mind. Right.
Yeah.
And so I'm sitting there thinking, going, why is it that we know, other than the obvious, but we know that there's something wrong with this case? Yeah. And then I thought back to the videos I was doing at the beginning, when I'm listing all of the inconsistencies. Right. Now, there are going to be some inconsistencies in every single case. Even if you know and it's videotaped, there'll be an inconsistency. But with this one, I think I stopped at, it was over 100 listing inconsistencies. And when it gets to that point, so I'm thinking, going, when it's at that point, there's a major problem.
Yes.
And so why is it? But you're going to explain why. But for those of us on the outside looking in, we're like, why is it that this isn't so blatant, and why are the police not doing anything?
Exactly. And we're finding out more, because when you're in a crime situation, a family, and a hex of this type of darkness, it's like being in a pit. The only way I could describe it, or like down in like a crab cage, like crabbing, and you're in this cage, and they're clawing you, and the crab behavior is basically the kind of behavior and the kind of family that we are in. And so they cannibalize each other to stay on top. If you look at like hermit crabs, like how they will go into, they'll eat each other to take each other's homes. I mean, it's dark. And so like maybe the queen crab or the king crab will get all the way to the top and just claw their way to the top. And that is what these dark, toxic vortex family systems are. And this is what we're in. So why I'm saying that is you can't see, you're just in survival. You can't, when the top tier tells you, the top crab says, hey, Greg.
Hey, everyone.
Hi, Greg. So, Kristen, before we get too much into this, can you go ahead and remind everybody, because I do have some new viewers since we spoke last, and let them know who you are and how you related to David Crowley.
Okay. I'm Kristen Kashani, Kristen Melissa, and I'm the sister of David Crowley's uncle. I'm the sister, his wife. Okay, so he has a dad named Dan. David Crowley has a dad named Dan. He has a brother named Danny Jr. They also have a Grandpa Dan. Grandpa Dan is gone. He passed away. Now, Grandpa Dan is the crux of this story, okay? The Grandpa Dan. You have to understand Grandpa Dan. Then you have Dan Crowley, and then you have a Karen Crowley, what is her name? The sister. She's the middle sister. Her name is Karen. And so is my sister. My sister's name is Karen. And she's married to the youngest brother of the Dan Crowley, David Crowley's uncle. Okay, so we have two Karens in the family. One is Karen Hansen, I think, and Karen Crowley is my sister. Now, why that's important is Tim Crowley, my brother-in-law, was basically David Crowley's mentor in production and movies, and basically was the one that was managing, from my personal opinion, his life and intellectual property and getting him to Hollywood and all of this. He was huge in David's life and conspiracy theories, etc. I was helping, my husband and I lived one street away from the Crowleys, Tim and Karen. And I'm a child advocate chaplain and an international, I speak internationally. My husband and I have done this our whole career. So we moved by them so that my mom, we could all take care of the kids while we traveled. Okay. So the reason we lived there was to help, rear the families, all the children together. So together, my sister and I, living right by each other, we have 6 children. And they have 4 and we have 2. And my husband and I basically helped rear the Crowley children because my sister is a huge corporate bankruptcy attorney. She works 12, 14-hour days. So my husband and I basically cared for all the Tim Crowley children. We were highly involved. The actual year I was involved with David, Dan, Danny, when they came and the whole murder happened. And it was very odd. And so I heard only what Tim, the uncle, told me about David. And so when he was murdered that year, it was so weird because, we just were told one thing about him. And so things started getting really dark, and they were very dark with that family. My husband and I decided for safety, one of the reasons we moved clear across country, tried to get our children away from them. And it's not going very well. I'm just letting you know, since I went on, it's really true. Everything you guys are saying, it's dark. It's a very dark family. And, Catherine, your whole, how do you say it? Orta Chow or whatever.
Order Ab Chow.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, that was a good one. Yeah.
So I've been studying that. My husband and I are we're in basically a cloud of witness protection program. We've had to report all of this to the FBI because we are in danger. No joke.
I'm really sorry to hear that.
But, we did say those things, like we have a kill switch. And we did tell you guys and everyone that we are in danger, but we're not suicidal. Now, the reality is, I'm bringing up like the New Yorker. I'm really into the New Yorker piece and Herzog and all of this, the Nilsson piece, because Anonymous stated that David Crowley is the poster child for warning all of us of what was coming, especially the FEMA issues. I don't want to flag you all, but FEMA. Now we're involved in our child advocacy with Lahaina. What's going on there? I don't know if you guys are aware of the case going on right now, but we're highly aware. And it was FEMA along with DIDDYP, along with the captain in charge of that case there right now is being indicted or being brought in and sued for involvement with DIDDY, which is also involved with EPSTEIN.
Wow.
And FEMA. So my point is this: you all staying with it, you all being doxxed, you all having the hunch nothing is making sense here is valid. And not only valid, but along with other anonymous family members that are contacting us in total terror, you guys have stayed on it, and we are inspired, encouraged from what you all have done and stayed with it despite the bullying.
And again, we're like the Brady Bunch.
Greg,
I owe it to Greg. I really do. I think
Yeah.
Greg has been the cornerstone for keeping this all together.
yes, and I do believe, they have been highly involved in making sure it doesn't get spread, that you get scattered, your all of it. So, but it's a psychological war, it's a warlock war, it's a dark war, and it is very spiritual. And you guys have, staying with it, and especially for, the blood of, like we've talked about, the blood of the innocent crying out. Now, what happened the day that it was posted, when I went on, you guys know I went on, the day it was posted, just so happened to be the memorial. They all gathered in, the Twin Cities in MN, Apple Valley area. They all gathered as a den. Let's just put it there. They all gathered for Grandma Carol Crowley's memorial, random day. And Greg, that was the day you posted the whistleblowing of me telling the truth all about that. And they were all gathered and had to watch and hear the truth about, they had to hear the truth about basically the Holy Spirit and God telling on them, because, we have no fellowship with the unfruitful works of darkness, but rather expose them, encourage, which is what you've been doing. And so it was exposed on that Memorial Day while they were all gathered for her memorial. And I personally believe that grandmother had a curse put on her. She was an invalid her entire life because she dared to speak up to the darkness of that family. And she wrote a beautiful little book about breaking free from the toxicity. And from that moment forward, that woman was writhing on the ground. And the only thing she was able to do her whole life was pray. And they mocked her prayer. I mean, she literally was scooting herself on the ground from the time she was like 30 until her death on 80 years old. And you guys know what? That day was her memorial, was the day you did it, Greg, with us telling the truth about Kate Crowley, telling the truth about the Masonic cult, and telling the truth about Ranya's blood and their blood crying out, and that they have been slandering a good man and defaming his character. And for heaven to post that on that memorial while they're all gathered, they are in a tizzy, man. You guys know what? They are in a tizzy because they have been outed.
Yeah, well, you know, I want to let you know why I did the Order of Chow video. Yeah. And, you know, I wrote it and put it together, but I mean, there were a lot of people, you know, Dan helped, a lot of people helped to get that. It wasn't just
wonderful.
But what made me start to do research about that was, and I'm the only one who sees some of these things in some of the pictures. So I'm like, okay, is this just my brain? Because your brain will see patterns even if a pattern doesn't exist. So I'm like, okay, maybe that's the problem. But I swear in some of those videos, especially on the floor, I see the compass. I forget what it's called. But you know, I see it all, and I'm like, and I saw that, and I'm like, that seems awfully a very specific pattern for it to randomly show up on the rug underneath these bodies. So then I started looking at other things, and then I started talking to Altian Childs. Now he won the was it Australian? It's like the American Idol equivalent. So I mean, he was quite famous. So
millions of views.
Yes,
on his,
yes. And then when I'm reading what he did, so then you know, he's a good guy. So we became really good friends. And then I started talking to him about things I was seeing, and then he pointed me in the direction on what to look for. And so I started finding things in these photos, and then in the past, and then when Danny Mason, within a few months, all of a sudden he becomes a Mason as well. And then like Mason Hendricks, who is really into Norse mythology, and you start to see parts of these cultish or whatever, pagan or religion, whatever somebody wants to call them, you start to see aspects of these throughout the entire case. And then I'm like, okay, again, same thing. If it's one or two, it's like, okay, it could be a coincidence. It's just, but when you start seeing one after the other, and I'm like, we need to do a video.
Well, and then also, you guys, you know, we've had anonymous people contacting us after when we went on, what happened to our family. So basically 3 of our family members in 1 week had like a spell. I'm not kidding you, a warlock spell put over them, and they're like zombies, and they have been we've been retaliated against, and it's like they're paranoid and an absolute terror to speak to us. We haven't spoken to our children or our mother for an entire year because of this case. And 1 week. And I went to go try to rescue my mother and my niece from the Crowley cult. And they're in a paranoid state, and they are absolutely in some sort of zombie state. And so they are in total paranoia. So I am on a mission. My husband and I, we are on a mission to try to reopen this case for the sake of rescuing my niece right now, and our children, and my mother. And, you know, because they're doing to them what they did to David. And I'm telling you what they did to David and Kamal and Rania. What they did to them, you guys, is isolated them, had this happen to them, and then nobody was allowed to go talk to them and fight and check on them. That's what they're doing to us. And it's sadism. It's sadism. And then what they did to Kate, the mom, she couldn't go check on them. It's sadism. It's very dark. And they were doing it to us this entire year. And like for Christmas, we couldn't even see our new child and our new grandbaby. And of course, those Crowley cult queers, they would always come and talk to me and say, I just BF'd your son. And we're going to cannibalize you. And so this anonymous family members, they're telling me, they're saying all of what they do. They take you aside and they do sadistic things to you, and then they put a hex on you. And if they start to lose power, they pull you back in. So why it was so dangerous for David and Kamal and Rania to leave that area was because that group, that cult, would lose their power, their energy, their source. And so they had to pull it back in because they had to take on that energy. And, I really believe the, what you did, Catherine Michelle, what you guys did in showing for the goons and what, further proof in my studies of, they were the goons that were carrying this. I mean, I believe they know, God knows. They know what they've done. They're so sick. These are sickos. And
and that's why, and I don't know how you feel about this, but for me, in this particular life, for a long time, because we all get done wrong at one point or another, there's not a person who escapes that. But when people used to do me wrong, I used to try to find ways to get even. And then, it's like the scripture kept coming back to mind. Vengeance is mine, saith the Lord, I will repay. Amen. So when I leave it, and when people do me wrong, and I'm like, I leave it, it's like, fine, you want to be that way?
Yeah.
You're not going against me.
Exactly.
Something happened. I mean, inevitably, something happens that they soon regret what they've done. But and it's not my doing, but it's like life begins to happen in ways for them that kind of tell them maybe you shouldn't be going down that path. And unfortunately, like I see for David and for Kamal, and when you're saying this, it's like now in my brain, it makes sense because she was hearing voices, right? So I'm thinking, and it got everybody off onto a tangent. Oh, it's demons. It's this, it's that. No.
Right.
It's like I see them now implanting sensors and they're vocalizing, and they're now doing things to scare them.
Yes.
Yeah. And I'm like, it's evil.
Yes, pure evil, and it's a tactic. It's like psychological warfare that they do, and we know you guys studied who does this, who did this. I mean, you did it in your piece, and Alton, his whole story is he got in a car wreck, and he had a vision, right? And God told him to tell on the Masonic orders, despite the cost for his life. He got on during COVID, and man, I would watch them dox him. He'd have 1 million views in like an hour, and they would scatter that one that he posted, like they do to you all. They'd scatter that one, and then someone else would upload it, and it'd get 1 million views. There was such the power of God, like you're saying, that vengeance is his. He's repaying. That's all I'm trying to say, you guys, is that this has nothing. I mean, you guys have been vessels that are walking out God's avenging. And I personally believe, Rania, when little children are murdered, innocent children, my personal opinion is they become part of the avenging. That's why you have the cherubs with the arrows shown. They become a part of the avenging, and there's no power or force that can ever stop it. That's why you all being brave and you inspiring us to be courageous is really a part of the larger picture and the training that we have, like with crimes against children and chaplaincy and dealing with these, torturous, sadistic groups of people. It's all coming to light, and what's going on, in the different torture chambers happening. We have been a part of this for a very long time, not understanding that it would be our own family and our own life that we are learning this for, and helping other children and other families that are experiencing this, that have had this happen to them, to be brave despite the threat, because they bully you and to try to erase us and try to silence us. So what is happening now is our motto is never silenced, never erased, even for all eternity. So go ahead and do whatever you freaking want to us. My voice, they just have messed with the wrong mama and papa.
And that's
Because
good. I'm
we are
glad you're
walking.
standing up to them. And Greg, what's your take on all of this? What are
You
you
guys
thinking?
inspired us. Thank you.
Yeah, I think that's the right way. Is nothing will stand against God, and if you have God, if you have Jesus, you really have nothing to
Yes.
fear, and you have to go forward. You have to go forward. You have to talk about it. At some point, we're all going to die. No
Yes.
one is going to escape that. But
That's
death
right.
is not the end. Death,
Yes.
there's something else there. There's something bigger. There's something greater. I
Yes.
truly think that is true. This whole life is just a test.
Yes.
While we're here for this short time, we've got a great opportunity to do some very amazing, powerful things for God. We can do some great things for ourselves. We can do some great things for people. But if we're not including God in that, we leave ourselves we are vulnerable to fall into the traps of these cults, to fall into the traps of these satanic things. And the doors, it really seems like, I wouldn't say the gates of hell are being opened, but it's a little easier now. It's easier to access. It's easier to fall into that trap, even if you don't really mean to. It's everywhere. It's everywhere. And when I started looking into this case, I didn't think it was going to take me back here. I thought, okay, it's just going to be another murder mystery case, and we'll talk about it, we'll cover it, we'll see where this takes us to, and it turned into something very spiritual for me. And there's have been, I don't talk about it, but there have been some spiritual battles that I know are directly related to this case that I have faced, that I have struggled with, and that I have overcome too.
Yes.
And Sophia, what is your take on all of this?
When you start to look into this case, you can feel the evil that's surrounding it, the danger, everything. It's almost suffocating in some way. And, we've all been attacked by other people. Some of them have made themselves known, others have not. I mean, I've had my cell phone hacked, I've had my computers, not my computers, but my devices
Yes.
hacked. We've had threats lobbed at us, threats lobbed at our family, like extended family members and stuff. It's crazy. It's like, who would do this for a normal murder-suicide type case? And it wasn't until Catherine and I were like really looking into like all the discrepancies and how like there's no proof of high velocity gunshot blood spatter around that house whatsoever. It's all medium velocity and lower. And there's supposed to be 3 people who were shot and killed in that house. So where is it? That's a huge discrepancy. The fact that David's DNA is not found
on his cell phone.
Yeah, or the wall that he supposedly wiped his hands down. I mean, skin cells, whatever, it's going to be there. He lived in that house. There should be DNA. There's just so many discrepancies. And then when we finally figured out that at the end of David's autopsy report, it shows right there, he was the first to die. And that just blows the entire theory, the higher ups had put in place out of the water. And for me, they were murdered. And that's it. Open shut case. The proof is right there on his autopsy report. The second sentence at the end of that last page, it's right there. If you know how to read it, it's there. And Rania and Kamel, their time of death was after David's.
Yeah, I mean, one word changed the whole entire case. Marked. That one word changed it all. And it has so many different meanings. And in the case of David's autopsy, it means more advanced, very obvious. But they were also marked as a family. You know, they had a target on their back, clearly. They made someone very angry, and they're gone.
Well, you know, it's blood money. I have to say this. They're very unhappy. They did get money, and I call them China sellouts. I'm sorry. They're sellouts to China. And it's blood money, and it's pretty high up, but they're miserable. I just have to let you know this. Dan Crowley, the dad, he wants to give all the money away because it is blood money.
Ooh.
And I did know that. So you guys, you know, the love of money is the root of all evil. And that really is what was it about? What is it about? It's about the money that they were getting ready to have, and the mics and all of it. And it was too successful. And, you know, he was cutting out all of these weirdos from his life. Didn't want the Crowley queer men, the Crowley queers. I'm sorry if you're offended by that, but it's the truth. They're a bunch of, can I say it? Butt fuckers. And that's what they always say to my son. They'd always say, hey, Kristen, I just butt fucked your son. And these are perverts.
Yeah, and that is so disgusting. And you know, and I know that there's a line to be drawn. There's a difference between someone who chooses the lifestyle or has the lifestyle, because there are people who choose it. It's not going to be up for debate, but if they choose that lifestyle, that's not what you're talking about. You're talking about people who were evil, who do things like, yes, to hurt others and to then use it as a form of torture.
Well, and I believe that's why David did not want Danny Jr. touching Rania. Got new phones, cut them out, and then also the Mason Hendricks piece that you showed, where he would come in and always joke about what a weakling David Crowley was and wanted to, you know what, Kamal. That is what they do. That is what they do constantly. Yeah, and you know what? That, you know, I think that is the motive. That is so important here, because I think that Masonic, you know, the cult that they are involved with, it's about an orgy over dead people and getting off on that. I'm sorry to be this blatant, but that's the truth. And we have to look at, you know, their sadism and realize when they had the look in their eyes after they, you know, what they posted, and the look in their eyes of being high afterward. They were high, higher than kites, happy, like, you know, dilated pupils. To me, you guys, those pictures of what they posted afterward is, you know, shame on them. Even if they didn't participate, shame on them for doing that.
Yeah, that was a disgusting photo.
Yes, absolutely.
It was at the service, right, Greg? It was when all the boards.
So sick, you guys.
It was while they were being interviewed by one of the local newspapers.
Yes, that is them. And, you know, Mason Hendricks coming in and saying those things to David, that is what they do. And then they come in and say those things about Rania. And, you know, the fact that he got a new phone, blocked them, wouldn't talk to them. And then the biggest thing for me is that who got the Day One Journal and got access to that? Those two Dan Crowley queers. I'm sorry, that's the truth.
Yeah, Sophia actually
was Kate Crowley in that, right? Where's Kate Crowley? Nobody does that. No,
right.
it's what
And
they're
here's
doing
the
to
thing,
me.
Kristen. Here's the thing: is that Sophia was the one who first caught the changes in the diary. She brought it up, and she's like,
Yes.
"Hey, wait a second! They're deleting things." How did that capture your attention, Sophia?
Uh, just going off of what they said in the articles and in the movie. Or,
Mhm.
I mean, it's not even a documentary. Let's be honest. That was all BS. That was
Propaganda.
so. I mean, just going from what they said and then double checking the Day One Journal because it does not cover every single thing,
Mhm.
but the main things like David was supposedly pulling away and he is a drug addict and he's abusing his wife and everything. And I'm like, where am I seeing this? I mean,
Yeah.
are we looking at the same exact journal? Is there a different one that nobody is talking about? You know, they refer to the Day One Journal in the documentary, but what I was looking at and what they were talking about, like making their last phone calls or seeing David the last time, that wasn't lining up, you know, and the fact that David was rewriting the script and working on his own with Camille and
Yes.
Nice, you know, that was a huge
Huge.
deal
Yes.
because he completely kept them out.
Yeah.
And then when you look at the documentary and you see where they're trying to convince you that David was doing all of these horrible things leading right up to his death. For instance, like making, and I'm doing this in air quotes, making Camille quit her job and was super stoked about that. She quit it back in April. It was like either
On
March
her
or
own.
April on
Yeah,
her
she
own.
didn't even tell anybody.
Yeah, she told him after the effect, or after the effect, and I'm just like, oh my gosh, they manipulated the viewers. They
Yes.
made
Yes.
everybody believe that David was just in this downward spiral, and that was not the truth at all.
Mm.
You know,
Yeah,
things were spread out over. Sorry, I
it
just
was like watching half of a trial, of a criminal trial, and all you're hearing is what the prosecutors are saying. You're not hearing what the defense of David Crowley is saying, because then you start bringing all this stuff up. Because if you just look at that, if you only look at their side, sure, it makes sense. You think it makes sense. It can kind of
Right.
make sense. You can make some sense out of it. But then
Yeah.
when you start breaking down the other side and the real facts of this case, you clearly see that it's just hole after hole after hole. It's a Swiss cheese of what they were trying to tell people. They couldn't even get the date of the Day One Journal right. In the police report, it says the Day One Journal ends in September. That's obviously not true. There are things that Mason Hendricks said that were in the Day One Journal about David being jealous of his wife, taking her to, he went to his reunion and he was jealous and, you know, made all these comments about people talking to her, et cetera, et cetera. None of that is in this Day One Journal, at least not the version we have. And there were a lot of things like that they said would be in the Day One Journal. The Day One Journal would solve everything. So then I pose a question, well, okay, like you were saying, is there other journals? Are there other journals? And after you confront people with the discrepancies and why these changes, then they have to say yes. It's the only way they can make any sense of it, of any logic, to say, yeah, there must be some other journal. There must be. Do they have the other journals? No, not that we know of. So it's they have this, they've gone so far. They cannot pull back. They cannot pull back. They even if they truly believe, and I believe a lot of them truly know exactly what we all know here too. They just don't want to say it. They don't want to say it. They don't want to look foolish. They don't want to look stupid. They've probably been promised things. They were promised things. They were trying to go forward with Gray State to turn it into something that, to me, another thing that I believe God did is there's a movie called Homestead, which is very similar. It's like the Christian version of Gray State. It's a really good movie, and the way that God works through people and the way that I've seen it happen with this case is very, very powerful. It can be scary, but it's so powerful that it just reminds me we are on the right track. And we know that God knows whatever the truth is. And that's all we got to do is stand for it. I've seen too many people get involved in this case. They're gung-ho, they go forward, and a couple months later, they're so beat down that they brainwash themselves into thinking David must have been done. It's crazy. I've never seen anything like it.
Hold on.
I can speak to that brainwashing. That's really our testimony. And I would say one thing. My husband and I are living testimonies and what they have done to try to silence and erase us this past year, and walking in it being brainwashed. I can tell you how it works. The psychological brainwashing to shut up. It's not just, mental, emotional, spiritual. It's then also physical, the violent, the threats to our personal safety and life and our family. And it's, we are a testimony of the brainwashing, living in it, coming out, trying to, and other testimonies of other confirmations and people cheering us on from behind, like, go, yay, and totally terrified.
Yeah. I want to interrupt here real quick. Sophia, it seems like there's some feedback coming from your microphone. Can you hear it? I can hear it. If I mute your mic, then it goes away. But yeah.
The kids.
Because anytime we talk, it's like we can hear a muffled reverb of what's being said coming through. Does anybody else hear it?
Yeah. It's like the teacher in Peanuts, Charlie Brown. Yeah.
So if I mute you, that's why, because it's like from over here, you can really hear it.
Okay.
But did you want to mute it? Because if you mute it, then you have control. If I mute it, then I have to unmute.
Oh, okay.
Oh, see? Wait, there. Yeah, there you go. Okay. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt, but my brain was losing.
So, you guys, as far as the living testimony and journal and the bullying and all of it, moving forward with what you guys have stayed with it and, been led by God. And I'm just, we're just encouraging, and then also, walking a mile in your shoes in this bravery. We are asking for this case and, signing the petition that you just signed, and then also trying to bring it to the attention of, the crimes against children that I'm a part of. I'm trained. It's through the FBI and the DOJ. And we're getting ready to go to that conference, and they train you. I mean, these are on the ground, the good people who, because there's half and half.
Yeah, she's been going in and out. It's like her internet connection's not great. But
yeah, it finally froze, I think. Looks like.
Yeah. Hopefully she'll come back. But you guys, Greg, Sophia, you guys have anything to add to any of this?
I'm happy she joined. I'm happy she came on and joined. I know we were gonna speak privately, and then it was too crazy for me, so been kind of putting it off. But very happy she came on here and joined and shared more in information, and that she's not giving up either. Because like she was saying, I truly believe there are a lot of the family members that are quietly cheering us on or praying for us, and just they want us to keep going forward because nobody else is, and they don't know what to do. And there's been some family members that especially the younger ones. I think the younger ones are really going to be the ones who are going to look at this case as they get older, and are going to be pretty pissed off. And not pissed off at us. They may start being pissed off at us, which is fine. I've seen that happen with several cases. When they get older and they research it and they learn about this case, or when God puts it in their heart to actually listen to what we are saying, they're pissed off. They're pissed off because they've been lied to, not because we've been, trying to say, hey, go over here, just listen to us, buy my book, buy my freaking leggings, buy all of my stuff. It's all about me,
I forgot the leggings. Are those still for sale?
I have no idea. I don't know. I don't even know how to log into that portal anymore. So I do not know.
Well, I was cut off, right? Mid-sentence?
Yeah, you were. Glad to
Okay.
have you back.
Interesting.
Go ahead if you want to finish up what you were saying.
I don't want to interrupt you. So
No,
that
go
was
ahead.
really intriguing. Let me just say it very quickly. So we are, drawing attention to it in a larger case and in what we've already, our training that we've been getting. So we're hoping to see, well, we'll see. Obviously, in mid-sentence while I was saying that, I was cut off. So obviously, we know what's involved. So again, my husband and I are not suicidal. Again, we have a kill switch, meaning, that what is a kill switch? It means that if something weird happens to us, everybody knows who to start to investigate. All right. The other piece of it is, we will do anything. We're not afraid of being bullied anymore. We've lost everything. I mean, everything imaginable except our lives. So we are pursuing. We already have the case reported larger, but we wanted to speak with you guys about really working hard to try to get it reopened and bringing it out of the Apple Valley, bringing it into the FBI and the Crimes Against Children and the DOJ. But we have to understand something that we're learning, and that is if we're gonna be involved in the trafficking and the larger drug and trafficking cult route, if it is the top tier group, we'll never be able to see justice. If it's the top tier group that's ruling from the unholy see, understand what coat of arms they're involved with, right? Which one, like Aton shows, which one are they involved with? And that's what we're trying to figure out, what one this case is involved with. And I think it's pretty high up, extremely high up. So that we're in a lot more danger and we won't be able to see it investigated, right, by the larger FBI, DOJ and the Crimes Against Children group. We'll see if we're able to. But in these cases, I'd like to refer all of you guys to Sean Atwood. He's from the UK.
Yeah, I watched his channel.
He's second tier. He was a drug trafficker, like high-end elite. And he started hitting the market for the very large, like opioid trade of the, like the ones who really rule everything, like the KERRY, KERRY opioids. He was a Secretary of State at one point. That group and, the sellout to China stuff, they, if you hit that market, if you start investigating the top tier, you will be absolutely annihilated, which is what happened to Sean Atwood. And he was put in an Arizona prison because he was tapping into the large group. You'll have justice on the second, third group, and they'll put drug traffickers and child traffickers in jail. And that's what, understanding kind of like they kind of know it. We're learning, like, as you go into the case, they have like some sort of coding, I'm convinced, like a code that shows the detectives and the police involved. It shows them, like, there's a code that shows them, don't you dare mess with this case. Don't you dare. Look at the Gene Hackman case. If you go boots on the ground, we have property in Santa Fe, New Mexico. We are involved in that case with Epstein, Bill Richardson, all of that. That when you hear the coroner speak, she was terrified. boots on the ground, but people were trying to get information, true information to the regular people and to watch. It's kind of like the Anthony Bourdain, Kate Spade cases. Watch how the information gets out. It's very similar with this case, right? The coroner, all of it. Then I believe in the paperwork, the investigators and the police have some sort of flag that they all follow. And everybody knows, don't you dare keep investigating this case. You close it down, which is what's happening in Lahaina with the DIDDY case, what's happening to Pacific Palisades out here where we live with the, with the FEMA and Asheville, North Carolina. That's why his case is so important, because what does he have posted all over before all this?
Yeah.
FEMA. Let's all say it together. Let's go. And I know I'm joking, and I mean, this is serious, what. But
well, the reality is you're really the first person that I've heard that has really nailed down on that particular group. And it's like, as soon as you said that, I see the poster with that.
Yes,
that agency.
That is why, you guys. And that is why an anonymous came on and said he's the poster child for being silenced because of what was coming. And he was warning, and he knew it, right? And he knew it, and they knew it. And I believe that group and the family wanted the power and wanted that to be able to unveil that in Minneapolis, because some of the study I did was the Minneapolis people, the film industry there was very angry that he was getting ready to break ties and come out here with the mics, to produce here. And so you have a whole group of people too, and that route that they wanted to be the heroes and be the ones that were going to bring this whole thing out and have Minnesota film, be where this series was coming out of. If you do the research on the different interviews that he was doing with the larger Minnesota film group. Now, this is what's happening in the Santa Fe film industry, the Hollywood industry. They're all little mafias. Like, we're involved, my family's involved with the water mafia out here. The water mafia is, if you check into what really was going on with Pacific Palisades and the fires out here, it's water mafia that turned the waters off. Okay. So it's
and then that group, that family actually illegally took possession of all the water rights. So
that's right.
Now they're holding it as ransom and expecting people to buy it back from something they stole.
And they're the most powerful family, the same power as Iran. Mm-hmm. Go figure. Why? Look them up. I'm not going to say anything because
I've been researching that one.
Well, that is the same thing here, you guys. So it's a Hollywood, it's a content whistleblowing mafia that did not want this FEMA and this, COVID communicated about what was coming. And I personally believe it's all an eminent domain scam, ultimately, and, resource scam. So water, land scam, it's all part of the larger scam. So that is why they
What scares me about all of that is the fact that David was so accurate in his writing. Yeah. And it wasn't, David wrote with a purpose. He did a ton of research. That man knew what he was writing, but he put it in story form. Mm-hmm. But what scares me the most is if this recent situation that the entire world went through, if that had taken off like it was supposed to. I think, they underestimated what happens with the viruses. And if that had taken off like it was supposed to, we would be in a completely different world right now. It would have succeeded. Everything that they had planned would have succeeded.
Right.
But it didn't. There was something went wrong with when it started mutating. Instead of more viral, it became less viral. So, oops.
Well, and Aton, how they treated his whistleblowing. And then, at the end, he got a few facts with David Crowley wrong. I mean, I watched that 5 hours
Yeah, I let him know, just so you know.
Yeah.
And
then
apologized.
to have him show David Crowley as the main truth teller whistleblower of all of this and what happened to him, and attached it to the demonic Masonic cult, which is, we know that with the hands and the identifiers, and then all of the things that you guys see, and then you have these other cases we're confirming, where they will come in, like Santa Fe, Pacific Palisades, Lahaina, FEMA with Asheville, all these different cases. It's all the same. So I would also like to refer to Brush Junkie. She's a boots on the ground podcaster who's shining the light on the patterns that are going on in, different things that they are doing to us and to other people who begin to see the truth. And then, what we're up against, to know your zone. That's the main thing, for us to know our zones, meaning what would they be able to do to you, to me, in our area? And, is there a reservoir above us? Is it firing like Pacific Palisades? They never would have believed it. And then what happened? So they don't protect the people from the fires. They turn the water off. And then once they get the fires there, they block it off with the FEMA and the National Guard, and don't let them go on their properties because they say it's too unsafe for you. Well, why didn't they turn the water on? So that's, that is part of what he was showing, right? Then the martial law. And then what happens? They bring in the National Guard. That is why he was the poster child for what we were facing. And that, watching Asheville, and they had to bring Starlink in, they had to bring FEMA in, right? I mean, that was a fight. The fight was that FEMA blocked all resources from being able to go up into Asheville, up into that, and help the people and rescue them.
And that's the problem, is a lot of people don't understand how remote Asheville is.
Right.
I mean, it's like, we think we're remote over here in Colorado, right in the mountains. Oh, no. I mean, Asheville's
right.
Like really, and for them to cut off any support, those people are still suffering. They're still have no home. They went through the entire winter without a home to sleep in, and not a care.
Right. So they're doing it. It's a pattern in every place.
Yeah, it is. One thing that I noticed about Trump is when he came in, he's like, why do we need FEMA? What do we need them for? Why don't we give that money to local people on the ground? And it's one of those common sense things that, you have this money, but why would we give it to outsource it to these people who don't live there, who don't know anything about this particular
For some reason,
area?
you're not.
And make it, if you're going to have some type of FEMA, it should be a very, very tiny, small portion of people, but you really don't need it. And I forget why they started it. But if you research it, obviously, just like a lot of other government things, what they created FEMA for is not what they're using it for, or what they told us they were going to, why we needed it, right? Why it was so awesome. And now we see that all it does is just take the resources and doesn't do what it should do. It does not help the people. Why not just give that to the local give that money directly to them, because they're the ones that end up going out and actually helping people. So what do we need FEMA for?
Well, and they're blocking the people from going and helping each other after the event, and they don't care that the event happened and people are dying. So it's a big scam. They're saying, oh my gosh, you can't go back up to your land because you're going to breathe in those the fire, the fire chemicals, but they didn't care that the water was turned off and they all died and lost their property. So then afterwards they bring in the strong arm, the National Guard or the FEMA, and then they block everyone. This has happened in Lahaina. It happened in Pacific Palisades. It's happening in Asheville. And so he was the poster child for warning us about this. That is another huge piece, and why his case needs to be blown up, because that he anonymous got on and said he is the whistleblower for what was coming. Now they attached Trump, that's what Trump is doing. And, you can go apolitical and all of that. And that's part of what I'm saying with Sean Atwood is, we don't know 100% what it's like to be at those top levels and trying to bring help and boots on the ground and what you have to do to negotiate with evil players. We don't know all that's involved with that and like how dangerous it is, right? Like we can stand here and say, oh, I do don't believe in Trump, I do, or don't believe in Elon Musk, I do, or don't believe in Biden and Lizinski. The main issue is none of us understand the threats and the blackmail and what's attached to them having to be a puppet or not, and how brave how brave you have to be to push through and try to get anything done. That's the issue here. And what group do they serve? What murderous blackmail group do they serve or not? I mean, that is really at the heart. And they tapped into, David Crowley tapped into this. And that's what I'm trying to say is we are, as we bring it to, and you guys, all the work that you did and trying to petition to have it reopened, it's going to be interesting to see, because that is our mission now in this, forever. We're not going to stop. We're going to try to bring light, and we're going to watch, see what happens, like what FBI case or what detectives will look into it. Who cares? Because I'll tell you one thing, I need to rescue my mother and my niece and our children from this dark group. And that we are all in danger, and I need help, because we have living people that are getting ready, that are in danger. We have living people that are in danger in the family.
They're living under a threat.
They
right?
are. We're being retaliated against, and they're being put in an absolute paranoid state in order to not join with us, to not ever come home, to never acknowledge us, to have me completely erased, because we're such a threat to communicating with you all the truth.
Yeah. And we see, just one last thing, Catherine, just, when people learn about this and they watch these videos, and we all get it wrong. All of you ladies probably know that I've gotten many things. You probably corrected me on many things that I've gotten wrong. But, when people go and they research this case, we don't want them to find the coffee house crime video. Right. We don't want them to find Kenneth Maines, and that is one of the main reasons why I'm glad that we are keeping this out there for those real people who really want to go and look at it, and they're like, there's something wrong there. Who is talking about the other side? It's all David Crowley is crazy, guilty, and boom. So it's very important that we do continue to do something.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And what's so interesting, those all have 1 million views, 1 million this, 1 million that. And Aton, if we could get Aton's views and his thing done and show those views, right? And this is the issue, is the propaganda attached to the label, and all of the evidence then, like Sophia, what you said is like watching all the evidence and the propaganda to force everyone to believe their false narrative, no matter the evidence. This is what this group does.
Yeah. Okay. And we've been on here for an hour, so I'm going to have to wrap this up. But Sophia, do you have any last words you want to say? Anything you want to add real quick before we call it quits for the day?
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Yes. Oh, wait. Now I can't hear you. Now you unmuted it. Now, there you go. Now you're unmuted.
Okay. Sorry about that. I just want to encourage the viewers to keep asking questions, keep looking at the case, looking at the photos, and asking the real questions. Mm-hmm. Because if the other side, the people who are trying to push the official narrative, keep suppressing our voice, then nothing is going to get done. But if you keep asking legit questions and questions, and keep fighting a good fight, staying strong, and not letting them bully us into believing what they want us to believe, then we could hopefully get some movement in this to get some traction going. That's really all I have to say.
Oh, I
I do
absolutely
appreciate.
didn't
I
didn't
do
hear you.
appreciate.
Can you repeat that one more time?
I know it's getting noisier. So thank you. I do appreciate everything.
Okay, and
Sorry,
Greg,
I'm
do
gonna
you
mute
okay. Thank you, Sophia. Greg, do you have anything you wanna throw in before we go ahead and end this?
No, I'm just so happy that people are still involved in this, that you all three of you are still involved in this and definitely care about this. And there are a lot of sincere people. I know there are people out there who want to come forward but can't or won't. I understand it, but you know, anything that you can do to help, pray, find other people, find somebody that will come out. Talk to your family members. Don't let them forget who David Crowley is. I'm worried about David's wife's side. I'm worried about David's niece. Was it be her niece? Yeah, it would be her niece.
Yeah.
I'm worried about the younger generations of both sides of the family
Yes.
and how they're going to come up. And one day somebody's going to talk to them
Yes.
about it. And it's going to be a very harsh thing. And I just want to make sure that we have some resources out there and we keep those resources out there, because right now we know what they're going to be told. Oh, this guy was crazy. He murdered everybody. And I'm hoping that there's going to be one or two family members that will look a little bit deeper and will probably get pushed not to look deeper. And that may, you know, it's like if somebody says, don't touch this button, and the first thing you do is you touch that button. And we're going to be that button. That button is always waiting for them. And it's all in God's hands. And I just pray about that. But I truly believe someday somebody is going to come and somebody is going to really help get this case reopened. And that's all.
Kristen, do you have any last words?
I would say the labeling someone crazy is their favorite tactic. And that is what we're facing. They do it to everyone. And so, don't believe that, because that's the only tactic they have. And then they want to prove that you're crazy and that you're capable of doing this stuff. But they are mirroring themselves. They always tell on themselves. They're crazy. They're a crazy group of people. And the truth is marching on, and you all, in your obedience and in your resilience, have kept that resource. And we're, the fact that you did it, we've come out of the pit and we're being labeled crazy, but we're not. I went and got all kinds of evaluations. I have CPTSD from all the trauma of what the crazy sadists do. So that's the issue here.
Well, I just want to thank everyone for being here, and even the people who have been listening and watching the live stream. Thank you 100,000 times. Remember to hit the like button. And I hate saying that, but it's all to do with the YouTube algorithms. Yeah. And in order to get this message out there, we have to keep the computer systems happy. So if you could like, comment, share if you want to, please do that. But I just want to say thank you to Kristen, thank you to Sophia, thank you to Greg, thank you to everybody for being here and for helping and commenting. And Kristen, you're welcome anytime to come back. And you can find me here, find me all over the place. But
can you guys call me or text me, because I lost my phone, and so I need your new info. That's my issue.
Okay, as soon as we go off live, I'll give you that information. But thank you everybody for being here, and I hope you have a great day.
Thanks, you guys. Truly.